Norwich have been relegated from the Premier League after earning promotion just last season. It's been a recurring theme for the Canaries, but we're going to change that as we take on this realistic rebuild, beginning the save in the Championship. Norwich will likely see its fair share of player departures in the upcoming transfer window. Hopefully, a couple of key players will stay at the club, but I can see players like Norman and Rashica moving to other clubs in the Premier League or abroad. I'd also like to move away from the strategy of signing players on loan. It's something that Norwich tried to do, but obviously didn't work out well for them in the Premier League. Moreover, I want to give talents that were set out on loan a chance at the club. As to our board objectives, they're pretty spot on when you place Norwich in the Championship. Again, looking to have them win the league, which they've managed to do right away when they've been relegated in recent seasons. And in order for us to have success in the Premier League at a later point in time, we need to build upon our youth academy, starting with the homegrown talent. Patrick Francis, a right winger with an overall rating of 71. 4-star skill move, 4-star weak foot combo, high medium work rates. And because we plan on having a couple of player departures, I think he can compete to be in the starting 11. For funds, we have 18 million to work with, but that number is soon going to be on the rise as we get into some of these player departures. Rashica leaving for Osasuna for 12.5 million. Freiburg having quite the season in the Bundesliga as they look to strengthen their squad with the Norman signing for 11.1 million. Max Aarons has been linked to Premier League clubs for a number of seasons, but this may be the summer that sees him leave. He'll be joining Manchester City for 10 million. Todd Cantwell had that great season in the Premier League 2 years ago, but he has been loaned out now to Bournemouth, so I don't know if his future will be at Norwich. The final transfer out will be Lucas Rupp, who also joins Club Brugge for 2.5 million. Finally, we can get into some of those player rivals. Scott Twine, he's had an incredible season, 20 goals and 13 assists across 44 League One appearances. I'm sure plenty of Championship and maybe even Prem sides will be looking to grab his signature for the summer. But in career mode, because he doesn't have the highest overall and potential, he didn't cost us that much. Only 3.5 million for the transfer fee, which was $1 million already above his evaluation. And I was on the lookout for a box-to-box center midfielder, and we'll turn outside of the top 5 leagues to sign Bartosz Lisz. The Poland international has become a key part of the Legia Warsaw squad, making a number of appearances, but we'll have to see if that can translate to success in the Championship. Anyways, he will make that move for 2.75 million. Still plenty of funds remaining. I wanted to get a 5-star Youth Academy scout as soon as possible. We'll be staying within England for 9 months looking for any type of player. The Championship is of course known for the amount of fixtures it has. A lot of midweek matches as well as on the weekend, but our aim will be on the title. We'll see if we can achieve that and get Norwich back into the Premier League. Here is our starting 11 of choice. Couple of players moving around from their natural position. For example, we're moving Sam Byram to a right back position because he is right-footed. And then Sorensen will actually shift from a left back to a center defensive midfielder role, giving him a +1 in his rating. It's the start of the January transfer window, and we find ourselves second in the Championship. However, a lot of teams in contention for both the league title and automatic promotion to the Premier League. We've seen some growth in player ratings, and I don't think many more additional moves are required. I will be loaning out Angus Gunn. I feel bad that he's never established himself as the top choice keeper when he was at Southampton and even Norwich, despite having a ride for a considerable transfer fee. But I was very surprised to stop our simulation in late February for what will be the Carabao Cup final against Wolves. A win would secure us a place in Europa Conference League, and judging by how the Championship table is going, we may be in the Premier League as well. As we walk out onto the pitch at Wembley, I've got to say that we've defeated on some alright opponents to get here to the final. That round of 16 victory against Manchester United stands out the most to me, but Wolves are not going to be an easy test as it's Timo Pukki who takes too heavy of a touch. Could have opened up the scoring, but defensively, we were all right. Tim Krul, an established player with Premier League experience, so he's used to coming up against sides like Wolves, as Josh Sargent makes an appearance in the 80th minute. We have to go all the way into extra time, and the 116th minute, it is Sargent to open up the scoring. Hits that one on the volley, and he will be celebrating in front of the traveling fans. A win that'll secure us our first trophy in this rebuild, and more importantly, sets us in the right direction for success in Europe. In a surprise turn of events, West Brom end up winning the league title, but we do secure that crucial second place spot, which gets us automatic promotion to the Premier League. Peterborough, Millwall, and Blackpool in the relegation zone. Championship playoffs are always interesting, and it's Stoke City that defeat Bournemouth in the promotion playoff final. The Premier League going pretty much as expected. Liverpool, City, United, and Chelsea rounding out the top 4 spots. Newcastle relegated, though, alongside Crystal Palace and Brentford. It seems like cup competitions was the way to go for us, as we also went far into the FA Cup, finally seeing an exit in the quarterfinals to Chelsea, who do go on to win the competition against Everton in the final. Of course, we won the Carabao Cup 1-0 over Wolves. Liverpool defeating Manchester City in the Champions League final. It's Lyon to beat Sociedad in Europa League. And Spurs pick up the victory in Conference League against Roma. What a first season for Francis. 24 goals across 54 appearances, also going up +7 in his rating. Twine also some very good numbers on his behalf, going up +5 in his overall, 10 assists from 50 appearances. A couple of decent talents from our youth academy. We've got Stanley Spencer, 72 rated English right winger, potential on the lower end, 77 to 83. But I'm excited about the future of Welch, a 66 rated right back, 81 to 94 potential. And Michael Berry, although he's only a 56 rated center defensive mid, I think he's got stats that could definitely suit him as a center attacking mid. And our manager rating has been unchanged heading into season 2 of the rebuild. Perhaps this will be the year that Norwich finally keep their place in the Premier League. But if you are enjoying the rebuild up to this point, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. It is clear that we'll need to invest in our squad, as a few Premier League clubs will likely look to sign our players. Board expects us to finish mid-table in the league and reach the round of 16 of the FA Cup. As for Conference League, these are some lofty expectations to reach the final, but I think we can get out of the group stage. And moreover, we can rotate the side to give other players a chance to feature. But we have considerably more to work with in the transfer budget. Part of this is because we are now in the Premier League, and also I think some of these funds are left over from last season. With that said, I decided to let Solis go to Valencia for 25 million, partly due to realism, and also at the time I was recording this, there was a glitch with his appearance in game, which has now been fortunately fixed. In addition to that move, Christoph Zimmermann will be heading to Royal Antwerp for 1.85 million. Hernandez going to Bournemouth for 1.3 million. And we've got Hugo, who will stay in the Premier League, probably as a rotational striker for Stoke City. Of course, I'm going to turn towards the free agent, see if there are any good English talents to add to our squad. Jesse Lingard having his contract coming to an end, and we will, of course, bring him into the team, becoming the second highest evaluated player in the squad, just behind Francis. In addition to that, we're looking to improve our defense. And with Brentford being relegated, I thought, what better team than to sign some players from. Christopher Ayer was actually linked with the move to Norwich before he eventually made the transfer to Brentford. This is going to be a 15 million deal, and he'll likely stay in the starting 11 for the entirety of this rebuild. All in all, a great bit of business. I also wanted to make it a point to find a player with a playstyle similar to Buendia. He did have that fantastic season for Norwich in the Championship, which helped them gain promotion to the Premier League. Still featuring fairly consistently with Aston Villa, but Alex Baena will be that player, particularly gifted in the shooting and passing attributes, listed as a center midfielder at a 74 overall. We're actually going to eventually have him become more of an attacking-minded player, signing for 7.5 million, which was under his current evaluation, so his contract expiring at season's end. And here's that move to center attacking mid, a +3 in his overall, which is huge. We weren't done there, though. I wasn't quite sure about our options in the midfield, and I was looking to sign Adam Zorgan for some time. Looks like an incredible player, another box-to-box midfielder, the 3-star skill move and 5-star weak foot, meaning that he can play anywhere in the center of the pitch. Also has some great traits. Signing for just 9 million, so we aren't spending too much on all of these transfers, but I think cumulatively, they will make the difference in this Norwich squad. We'll be switching up our scout every now and then. This season, I figured we'll send him over to Wales, which is one of the more popular nationalities at Norwich, as he searches for a technically gifted player. But our season will see it start against Manchester United. A difficult month of August, but I'm hoping that we can get the job done this season. Tim Krul taking over the captain's armband, and we'll see how we've done up until the January transfer window. We are mid-table, which is right where we wanted to be. So looks like we're going to steer clear of the relegation zone. And in Conference League, as expected, we did quite well, not losing a single match and finishing with 16 points in the group stage. We continue to give our young players with high potential a chance in the starting 11, and it's proven to pay off. A few starting to reach the 80s mark, such as McCallum. The only downside is that Sargent picked up an injury, so we'll miss a few more matches, but we've got the ever-reliable Teemu Pukki to start for us. Just one departure in January, as McLean will be heading to Serie A for 1.8 million. And without further ado, we'll get into the round of 16 of Conference League, starting with the match against Sparta Praha, who are not an easy opponent. They've got some high potential players, and the first leg ending scoreless, but goals galore in the second fixture. We end up winning that one 3-1. And we've got Galatasaray in the quarterfinals. Our opponent's starting to get more and more difficult. Another scoreless fixture in the first leg and in the second leg as well, but we get the better of them on penalties. And now a Bundesliga opponent in Hoffenheim for the semifinals. A 1-0 advantage for us heading into the second leg. That one ends in a draw, so we're through to the Conference League finals. Nice to see a different opponent. Can't say I've played against Copenhagen too many times in career mode, and judging by some of those losses in May, we're going to rely on a win here if we want to take the step up to Europa League. We are safe from relegation, ultimately finishing in 13th. I always try to make progress in these rebuilds season after season, and we've already checked off the main objective of staying in the Premier League. I would like to continue this momentum in cup fixtures, and if we can somehow get a win here, advance to Europa League, that would be fantastic. Couple of good saves from both keepers in the first half will put us all the way into the 51st minute. Sargent scored that goal in the Carabao Cup final and was unable to get it there, but Lingard, finding Twine, will play it over to Sargent. He seems to be the goal scorer for us. He's on the right trajectory now with Norwich. Happy to see that he's been able to secure the starting role, especially with Pukki retiring at season's end. And Tim Krul's decision to stay here at Norwich, continue to be their #1, has paid off as he lifts the Conference League trophy for us this season. We'll go ahead and cover the top half of the Premier League, and it's Chelsea to take the league title this time around. So a couple of different Prem winners through the rebuild so far. Manchester United defeating us in a third round replay of the FA Cup. Newcastle United defeating Aston Villa in the final. Another third round exit in the Carabao Cup. 2 FA Cup winners, Newcastle United. Arsenal end up winning the competition against Chelsea. Manchester City reaching the Champions League final in consecutive seasons, but it's Bayern to win the competition. Real Sociedad winning Europa League. Of course, we will get the win in Conference League. What a send-off for Teemu Pukki. Bit early to retire in his career, but the timing is right for his Norwich career to come to an end, leading the club in goals. And for the assist category, 2 players on 10 with Lingard and Francis. Just 1 player with a contract expiring. McGovern was a backup for us in the past, but at a 54 overall, unfortunately, his time at Norwich is over. But our Youth Academy scouts continue to bring back some great talents. Kai Phoenix, with a great name, has a bright future ahead. The center attacking midfielder, potential of 81 to 91 potential. It's the same rating for Ethan Hargest. He's got a potential of 83 to 89, and he will be a right winger. On the opposite flank is Kai Burris, overall rating a bit lower at 66, but potential at 92 to 94. This has been one of the best starts to a rebuild that I've ever done. Let's see if we can keep it going in Season 3. As we continue in this save, our ambition is to align our performances in the Premier League with how well we've been doing in Europe. I think it's clear we need to add some extra experience at the striker position. That injury that Sargent had goes to show that we need cover to prevent the worst case scenario. For domestic success, we're actually looking to push all the way up to Europa League qualification. And for that competition, we're attempting to reach the quarter-final. Here's a look at our group. We've got Napoli, Victoria Plzen, and Rapid Wien. Think about the same transfer budget as last season, and I felt like returning a former player to the club, at least someone that spent a season on loan at Norwich. That being Oliver Skipp. Usually I'd let him stay at his original club, that being Spurs, but because he's transferred over to Burnley, I think it's fair game that we look to sign him. He's a player with a lot of potential, and now we don't need to worry about bringing in another center defensive mid in this rebuild. As for strikers, you see plenty of forwards move from league-owned clubs to the Premier League, and I was just on the lookout for someone that had not made the move yet. Martin Terrier seems to have some very good attributes, and I think he can play well in front of 3 other forwards right behind him. He was another somewhat expensive transfer of 35 million, but because we're making a step up in European competitions, that gives us more funds to work with for the transfer budget. We will see a few player departures, with Lys Malou joining fellow Premier League club West Ham for 10 million. Janulis unfortunately was out of contention for the starting left back role, so I felt like letting him leave to the Bundesliga to VfL Bochum. Another player that I hope gets his chances in the future, has had some injury problems for the 21-22 campaign, Ida is a promising talent, and I'm sure he's going to get his minutes over at Strasbourg. Finally, we've got Tanani joining West Brom for 1.5 million. This will be a good addition for them because they are newly promoted. We will begin our season against Wolves, of course, a familiar opponent for us back in Season 1, but it's a tough ask for us to finish in that Europa League qualification. We'll see if we're on track for that here in January 2024. We find ourselves 8th, so only a few points out of top 6 is kind of what I'm aiming for. I was surprised to see us finish top of our Europa League group. I figured Napoli would be the best team out of the bunch, but 13 points from 6 matches played, can't complain about that. And with all the signings we made in the summer, as well as the positive momentum, let's keep things going here into the round of 16. With no additional transfers, Club Brugge will be our opponent. Of course, we have transferred a few players of our own away to them, but we won't be able to see if they're still at the club because they will not show up in the score sheet. Advancing 5-3 on aggregate, but a quarterfinals matchup against Atletico Madrid. Was not expecting that. However, our opening fixture saw us put in a great performance, 2-0 away from home. It meant that we were able to lose the second leg because we had goals in hand, advancing 4-3 on aggregate. And up against Arsenal in the semifinals, clearly it's not an easy route if we want to reach the final of this competition, but we do manage a win in the first leg. However, Arsenal pull things level on aggregate, forcing penalty kicks where we didn't exactly show up. It's a shame we lost out in Europa League because we didn't finish top 6, meaning that we'll likely be involved in Conference League next season with a 7th place finish, with the relegated clubs being West Brom, Crystal Palace, and Sheffield United. But recapping the FA Cup, again, a decent outing here, making it to the round of 16, but losing out to Burnley 2-1, who go all the way to the final, but lose to Manchester City on penalty kicks. It was an early exit in the Carabao Cup, another penalty kick shootout. Clearly, that's an area that we need to work on. Liverpool defeating Nottingham Forest in the final 5-3. It's a replica of what will be the Champions League final this year, Real Madrid getting the better of Liverpool 2-1. We saw an exit in the semifinals of Europa League, but it's Borussia Dortmund that get our revenge, beating Arsenal, and Atalanta getting the victory in Conference League against Stade Rennais. You can make the argument that Francis has now outgrown Norwich, up into the 90s for his rating, and a good majority of our goals actually came from him. 25 goals from 54 appearances, also leading the way in assists with 12 from 54. Fortunately, though, we've got some youth academy prospects on the rise. Remember Michael Berry, who started as a CDM? Well, now he's an attacking midfielder at an overall of 82. It's no doubt that there will be a new look Norwich squad in Season 4 of this rebuild. I'm quite impressed with how many original players have made it to this point in the rebuild, but it's time for us to switch it up a little bit, reviewing board objectives. That does fall in line with our goals. We're again looking to finish in a Europa League spot in the Premier League, reach the round of 16 of the FA Cup, and win Conference League this time around. Similar to the last time we were in this competition, our group should be no problem. I see us finishing first, but we will first need to make the changes to the team. 50 million to start the season in our transfer budget. I alluded to it earlier, but I think it is time for Francis to go. It was really just a matter of waiting until clubs submitted a bid within the evaluation given to us by our assistant manager. He is now the highest evaluated player from Norwich's youth academy, and I wish him all the best in the next stages of his career over at Inter. Alongside him, we have Byram leaving for Royal Antwerp, who I believe Zimmerman is already at. Finally, we have Slish heading to Syria as he departs for 5 million. Previously, when we had a lot of departures, we had a fair number of arrivals, and I think we're going to do the same strategy here. Signing a high potential English center midfielder in Joe Willock. He is going to be our new box-to-box CM. Only 42.5 million for this transfer from Newcastle United. And considering he is one of the best prospects in the Premier League, I thought this was a good move. Also, turning towards one of our former career mode players when I did a save with Fiorentina last FIFA. I'm familiar with Milenkovic. He has since made the transfer to Eintracht Frankfurt in this save, but I know what he can offer, and he will certainly improve our defense, signing for 35 million, which again isn't too much more than his current evaluation. And I thought it is time to improve at the goalkeeper position. Krul has done a great job, but obviously he is getting older. Florian Müller playing for a Stuttgart side that is struggling in the Bundesliga IRL. Only 14 million for this move, and for a player who's evaluated at 14.5 million, I thought this was a nice transfer to close out the window. Beginning our season against Brentford, all but one of our players now 80 rated or higher, and I think we can get the job done, both in the Premier League and also Conference League. We'll see how things have gone up until January, and similar to previous years, we are just outside of top 6, but this time it's a much closer contest. For reference, only 9 points separate us and first place Newcastle United, who have had quite the season. Not as stellar of a performance in Conference League compared to previous years, but we still finished top of our group with 12 points, also going undefeated. And with some funds left over from the big move of Francis, I felt like continuing to improve this team here in January. I wasn't set on Mumba being our right back for the future. He just seemed to stagnate in his growth, so I'm going to bring another right wing back option in Joe Scally. The American has had an incredible season with Borussia Mönchengladbach. With Norwich signing so many American players in the past, we definitely had to bring one in during this save, and we might even sign another later on. 20 million for this transfer fee, about 5 million more than what he's currently evaluated at. So I think him and Mumba will compete for that starting right back role. With that said, we have 2 player departures at season's end. These are both free transfer deals because they had their contract expiring. Krul will be joining Barnsley, and Jesse Lingard will be joining Valencia when the transfer window opens up again. Our Conference League knockout stage begins against Portimonense, and we do manage to pick up a 2-0 victory, courtesy of goals from both of our strikers, Terrier and Sargent. Second leg ends 1-0, so we easily advance there through to the quarterfinals against Hertha Berlin. Another 2 goals in the first leg gives us an advantage, and the same exact scoreline in the second leg means that we advance 4-2 on aggregate and are into the semifinals against Montpellier. They proved to be a more difficult opponent. We're tied up going into the second leg of the competition, but we do manage a clean sheet, meaning that we'll advance 4-2 on aggregate and are into the finals against Lazio. This time, it didn't matter so much for us because we managed to finish top 6 in the Premier League, so we've already secured Europa League. So I simulated this time, and we get another 2-0 victory, courtesy of goals from Terrier and Sargent. As for the Premier League relegation spots, it's Southampton, Burnley, and Watford that will be going down to the Championship. We make it all the way to the 5th round of the FA Cup, but we lose out to Liverpool 4-3. They do go on to win the competition against Arsenal. Semi-finals of the Carabao Cup will again see us lose to Liverpool, who then lose to Manchester City in the final. Champions League going to PSG, so each and every year we've seen a different Champions League winner. Liverpool having a fairly successful season winning Europa League, and then of course we get the victory in Conference League against Lazio. Terrier was the top goal scorer, so it seems like the departure of Francis didn't impact us as much as I thought it would, especially with the arrival of Barry into the starting 11. 14 assists from him across 43 appearances. I have been loaning out some of our younger players, and they've been starting to grow a lot while they've been out on loan. Kai Burris over at Wolves has gone up +6 in his rating. Ethan Hargest also going up +6 during his loan spell at Monaco. This is going to be the final player from our youth academy that I promote. Wanted to make sure we had another option at goalkeeper with the departure of Krul, so Luke Magnon will be that guy. 66 rated, has a bright future ahead. A slight drop in our manager rating, but I felt like this was one of the better seasons. We finally hit the mark for our objectives in the league. With the core of our Norwich squad established, we can now make some slight improvements and look to challenge for Champions League football, if not the league title within the next few seasons. Not many changes in our board objectives, just a slight uptick in our domestic success as we look to finish top 4 in the Premier League, reach the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, and for Europa League, reach the final of that competition. For the most part, we've had an easy go of things in the group stage, advancing every single time. Looking to keep that going here with a group consisting of Galatasaray, Vitesse, and Shamrock Rovers. And once again, a huge excess in our transfer budget. No intentions of spending all 160 million, at least not at this point in time. However, we will look outside the top 5 leagues and see if there are any players with good potential that haven't yet been signed. Luis Sinisterra is a great example of that, a winger with fantastic potential. I'm surprised he hasn't yet made the move away from the Eredivisie, but judging by how quickly he exceeded his potential when I did a Feyenoord rebuild, I'm hoping for similar things. Not having to worry too much about the transfer fee as he arrives for 60 million. I had high hopes for Adam Zorgan, and while he was a good squad rotational player, I think he probably wants more first team minutes, and he'll likely get that in Monaco as he leaves for 25 million. At his best, Kieran Dowell was a squad rotational player back when we were in the championship, so I think it's time for him to leave as he departs for Watford for 3 million. But we are ready to begin our season. High expectations for season 5. and a lot of players starting to reach the mid to upper 80s in their overall. Will that be enough to translate to success in the league? It certainly looks like it, as we sit first place in the Premier League, 6 points clear of both Manchester City and Arsenal. And we'll take that performance from Europa League as well, finishing second in our group with 12 points. Basically, that means we just need to play one extra match in the knockout stages. But with our sights set on the Premier League title, we need to strengthen the squad depth at the striker position. Sargent scored some crucial goals early on in the save, but his potential never really reached where I was hoping for. However, I want to keep that American theme alive, so we'll sign Daryl Dike, who has transferred over to Crystal Palace in the Premier League. It's going to be interesting what the US men's national team's future will be like, who will be the top striker for them. Dike is certainly in the running as he signs for $42.5 million. So this will be the squad. Can we hold out that first place spot in the Premier League? First, we'll need to get into these knockout stage fixtures, starting with a preliminary round matchup against Sporting. It's a 2-2 scoreline in the first leg, despite us having the better of the statistics, but we push things to extra time and end up winning 4-3 on aggregate, courtesy of a 111th minute goal from Terrier. Matching us up against our group stage opponent in Galatasaray, a 2-1 win in the first leg and a 2-2 draw in the second leg means that we're advancing to the quarterfinals and a familiar opponent in Chelsea. Our luck hasn't been great in the later stages of these competitions for matchups, but we managed a 1-0 win in the first leg and a 2-1 win in the second leg, pushing us through up against Nice in the semifinals. It's not often that we go scoreless in the opening fixture, but we lose out 1-0. However, it's a huge away match as we get goals from Sinisterra and Twine to put us through 2-1 on aggregate and up against Valencia in the final of Europa League. Still a few Premier League fixtures remaining, and this match against Manchester United will be a crucial one. If we can pick up a win, that will mathematically secure us the title. When we will, the 3-2 scoreline at home means that we can celebrate in front of our fans and check off a Premier League title for Norwich. It's a nice change of pace from the championship titles that we're used to. By season's end, we finished 10 points clear of Spurs and Arsenal, and it really was a great season. Granted, some of the other teams in the league performed worse off than usual, but you need a little bit of luck on your side when you're trying to finish as the top team in England. Crystal Palace, Leeds, and Bournemouth end up in the relegation zone. For the FA Cup, we make it all the way to the 5th round, but lose out to Leicester. Manchester City again winning this competition. It seems like this often goes to penalty kicks, and they are quite successful in that regard. A 3rd round exit in the Carabao Cup to Arsenal. It is Wolves that win the final 3-2 against Burnley. Champions League will go to Milan as they defeat RB Leipzig. We had a 2-1 victory against Valencia. It was Willock and one of our youth academy signings to get goals in that match. Spurs picking up a victory in Conference League against Torino. Terrier has certainly left his mark on Norwich since he arrived. 30 goals across 54 appearances, and it was buried to get into the double digits for assists, 12 from 50. However, a player that has gone under the radar to an extent is Sam McCallum. He continues to grow in his overall, now up to an 88, and he will certainly be our starting left wing back for the future. Also another defender / goalkeeper in Muller, leading the Prem in clean sheets. Not quite beating Petr Cech's Premier League record of 24 clean sheets, but still an incredible season, and I'm feeling very optimistic heading into season 6 of the rebuild. Hopefully, we can find success in Champions League. I thought about ending this rebuild once we secured the Premier League title for Norwich, but I had to see how we would perform on the highest stage of European football. So we may as well go all out. We are Premier League winners at the end of the day, and board expectations align with that. We need to win the league title, win the FA Cup, and win Champions League. I think we will be able to advance out of our group. Juventus are obviously a difficult opponent, and as long as PSV don't still have their highest potential players, we should be all right in that regard. Brøndby, I'm sorry, but I think you will be given the smallest odds of advancing out of our group. 211 million in our transfer budget to work with. At this stage of the rebuild, we have to be quite picky about what positions we want to improve. We're already a world-class squad, so it's just a matter of improving in terms of overall rating and finding still a couple of realistic transfers. Tomori has done well since moving away from Chelsea and over to Serie A at AC Milan, but a return to the Premier League isn't unrealistic, and it will be a huge transfer fee in order to bring him in. 100 million will seal the deal, well above his market evaluation, but we have so many funds remaining in our transfer budget. For right wingback, Scally has done a great job, but wingbacks with high potential are few and far between. Wilfried Singo is someone that I've been looking to sign for a rebuild, but never have had the chance to. He is still at his original club in Torino, so we'll again make a huge deal in order to guarantee this transfer. 75 million about 25 million more than what he's worth. But he's going to be right up there as one of the best fullbacks at this stage of the save. Because we already have a backup option with Scally at right wing back, I think it's time to let Bali Mumba leave. He's just about hit his potential, and he will be departing to Leipzig for 25 million. Sargent also making the move away. I like the Augsburg transfer because they did, of course, sign another American striker in Ricardo Pepi, so you've got the themes going on there. But a couple of competitions to begin the season. First, the FA Community Shield, then the UEFA Super Cup. Starting against Manchester City, this is going to be the new look Norwich squad. I like our chances of repeating in the Premier League and advancing to the later stages of Champions League. But unfortunately, we lose out on penalties again. City are ruthless when it gets to this stage, and in the UEFA Super Cup, we suffer a 3-0 defeat, so Milan are clearly looking to do well again in this competition. But we'll turn our attention to the January transfer window and see how we're doing in the Premier League. Third place, about 10 points behind Manchester United, who are having a much better season. And as expected, we'll finish second in our Champions League group. PSV were close. However, we had that final matchday win in order to see us through to the knockout stages. We will start against Real Madrid, picking up a 1-0 victory in the first leg and a 2-2 scoreline in the second leg. Terrier with the last-minute goal to see us through on aggregate. Quarterfinals matchup against Manchester City. Will we be able to get our revenge? It's Rafinha that got the red card that turned the momentum of this match, giving us a 2-1 win in the end. And it was a 2-2 scoreline in the second leg. Our new signing, Singo, again, putting us through on aggregate. Some clutch goals there, so we're into the semifinals against PSG. When given the option, I don't mind matching against PSG because they have such high-pressure tactics and drop in their stamina. We do get a 2-1 win in the opening fixture, a 3-0 scoreline in the second leg. Willock, 2 late goals to put this one out of reach. And we'll be facing Arsenal in the Champions League final. A nice change of pace from the teams that I'm used to playing in that competition. But before we get into that match, I want to recap some players that have left the club. Like Max Ahrens, he is currently at Borussia Dortmund, so he's had a very interesting career. It's not uncommon, actually, for City players to make the transfer to Dortmund. Todd Cantwell returning back to England, and West Brom have kind of been hovering between the Championship and the Premier League. Christos Solis ended up being one of the highest potential players that we let leave. He has made the move to France, which I think is quite a realistic transfer. But it is no surprise that Patrick Francis is our highest rated youth academy prospect. There's a good likelihood that he'll reach a 99 rating within the next few years. But it's Champions League final time. Let's get into the cinematics and see if we can end this rebuild with another trophy. Arsenal will start on the front foot. Smith Rowe finding Musiala, who has proved to be one of the best goal scorers and assist makers in the Premier League. I thought that was an interesting transfer from Bayern Munich. However, not an uncommon one. Arsenal do tend to sign a lot of players from the Bundesliga. However, as we continue on in the first half, we start to get a few chances. Unlucky not to make things level here, and it was just a lot of great blocks from the Arsenal defense. As we get into the second half, a huge chance for Hargest. Unfortunately, he shoots that one right at the keeper. He's getting in the right spaces, but his composure in front of goal was not the best. Again, unlucky to hit the post, but in the 84th minute, it's a fantastic run from Willock. He is one of our better players when it comes to Champions League football. Of course, he's coming off that brace in the second leg against PSG, so momentum is high for him. Just before the end of regulation time, it's Muller to make another big stop. He has performed quite well since transferring here, and one of our youth academy products, Barry, to score a finesse shot. I didn't really test it out too much with him, but you guys will see throughout these highlights that his finesse abilities are incredible. No chance for the Arsenal keeper to stop that, and just before the 105 minutes come to an end, it's another finesse shot from Barry. Very similar position to the last goal he scored, and that'll put us up by 2 goals. It ended up being a big deal because Arsenal will answer back in the 113th minute. It's Osimhen to pull things within 1. However, we will manage to hang on for a 3-2 victory. Our goal going into this rebuild was to establish a strong youth academy for Norwich. I think we have accomplished that, and I've guaranteed a bright future for the club. Reviewing all competitions, it's no surprise that Manchester United did win the Premier League this season. Nottingham Forest, Everton, and Burnley seeing the drop to the Championship. It's a 4th round exit in the FA Cup with Wolves again doing quite well in cup competitions, as they get the double defeating us in the final of the Carabao Cup. We get the win in Champions League, Bayer Leverkusen defeating Valencia in Europa League, and Lazio beating Lyon in Conference League. Terrier is again the top goal scorer. His goal numbers continue to go up and up, also leading the club in assists this season. And despite a win in Champions League, we nearly got the sack, our manager rating out of 46, but I am still quite happy with the squad we've managed to build with Norwich. As always, if you have suggestions for future rebuilds, make sure to drop that in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, but until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to you all again soon.